Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Matt Anderson. I'm a physical therapist and one of the business development managers here at PESI. And we are here to talk about Pain Summit that's coming up on March 3rd and 4th. That will be a virtual event. If you are not familiar with it yet, there is a link below that you can reference. And one of our speakers here is Clyde Boiston. He is also a physical therapist, and he's going to be one of our presenters for Pain Summit. And he's going to be speaking on clinical effectiveness of mindfulness, meditation, and mindful movement. So thank you very much, Clyde, for being here with us today.
Well, thank you, Matt.
And why don't we start out by you just sharing a little bit of information about yourself and your background?
Well, as you mentioned, I'm also a physical therapist. I've been a physical therapist for a little over 25 years, and I've, at this point, practiced in just about every setting that there is. And when I discovered mindfulness, I've been a practitioner, meditation practitioner, for probably close to 10 years. And when I first discovered mindfulness and meditation, it was really as a result of uh, some burnout that I was beginning to experience as a physical therapist. And some of you out there might also have sensed some of that. Maybe you've even experienced it on different levels. But, we have a job that really is very demanding. A lot of times we might not feel like our efforts are totally acknowledged, and there's so much paperwork and so much responsibility. And we go into the profession with this idea that we're going to help people. I mean, why else would people become teachers or therapists or nurses unless they really wanted to make, quote, a difference in the world? And you reach a point after you've been a therapist, and it could be for a short time or many, many years, but sometimes you begin to question your effectiveness. And that's what I started to go through. And I really began to wonder, was I in the right place? I thought it had been my calling. And kind of quite by accident, I live out in California, and out of UCLA in Los Angeles, there's something called the Mindfulness Awareness Research Center. And I discovered them and started to take some mindfulness and meditation classes. And in a way, that was a big game changer for me, because what I began to realize was that what I was experiencing personally was not unique to me. It's really just part of being human. We all have self-doubt. We all question ourselves. We all wonder sometimes, how we're going to throw the covers off in the morning and climb out of bed and face another day. And it's not that there's any shortcomings on our part. It's just that sometimes we need to get in touch with really what's inside of us, in our heart. Because oftentimes when we ask questions about our direction in life, we already hold the answers. I mean, everything that we seek, truthfully, is inside of us. And so through meditation practices, I began to discover that really I was in the right place. I just needed to sort of reconnect with my purpose. And so several years followed where I became a pretty avid meditation practitioner, went to quite a number of extended silent retreats and retreat centers in different parts of the country. And it became kind of a way of life with me. And then I started to share that. I started to teach mindfulness classes and lead meditation retreats myself. And then probably about 4 or 5 years ago is when I discovered mindful movement. I began to practice Tai Chi. And now for the past 3.5 years, I've actually been teaching Tai Chi. And those of you that are familiar with it know that it began actually as a martial art. But most of the time that you see it practiced in our modern culture, it's more of a gateway to health and wellness, because it's a way to sort of restore balance and harmony in our life and get more, reconnected again, just like the meditation does, reconnected with our purpose. But we do it in a very mindful movement kind of a way. So whereas meditation is more solitary, you think of this, all have this vision of somebody sitting in a cave somewhere in the Himalayas, with a beard down to here, and they're just, they're having their mail forwarded to them because they've been there for so many years meditating. And so that can be a real solitary practice where we look within. But mindful movement is very, very, can be very social, especially if you're in a Tai Chi or a yoga or a Qigong class. And when I discovered mindful movement, it was sort of like the final piece in the puzzle, because it's really meditation in motion is truly what it is. And it's an energy practice, and we all need to sense into our own inner energy and sort of, reconnect with that from time to time, because again, that's mostly what keeps us going in this world. And we all have this river of energy inside of us. It's very, very powerful. So you see these people that can work 7 days a week, long hours, and never seem to get tired. And it's not anything to do with how much sleep they've had or what their diet is. It's really this connection you have within yourself, sort of looking within to find the strength and get this renewed effectiveness to just, take these steps on this path that we call living life. And so what I do now, and I've done for a number of years, is I share these practices with people, because what I've discovered is not only were they such major game changers for me, but they also began to be very effective in helping a lot of my patients and clients. And that's part of the Pain Summit, because there's a lot of uh, beneficial applications of both mindfulness, meditation, and mindful movement for reducing chronic pain, for helping people to improve their quality of life by living with it. And again, it's the benefits are experienced on different levels. It speaks to different people in varying ways. And it's like any con ed I ever went to. If you pick up one or two key points that you can take back to the clinic with you and you can apply to your practice, then it was time well spent. And that's why I feel that this is a wonderful opportunity to be a part of this Pain Summit, because so many times, we go to continuing education to get the tools to help our patients. And so the seminar, the workshop that I'll be leading, well, you will get some of that. But you're also going to get some valuable techniques that can actually make you more grounded personally, because that's what it did for me, and that's what I love to share with everyone. So that's sort of my journey from then till here now.
Sounds wonderful. So then, just a few questions to provide a little more insight in terms of what your session's going to cover. One thing that's been really exciting that I think at this point, within the last year, 2 years or so, especially, most of us are likely have heard of mindfulness and are becoming familiar with mindfulness and meditation. But hearing it and knowing of what it is, I think, are two different things. Can you just give us a little insight of what is mindfulness? What does that actually mean?
That's a really good question, because so many people, mindfulness is this big buzzword. I mean, mindfulness is everywhere. I think I even saw a book advertised on mindful babysitting, you know? So we can be mindful in everything that we do. And it's so simple, because mindfulness is just really becoming more present in the moment, because if you think about it, we live a lot of our life on autopilot. Our mind is typically not right here, right now, in this moment. Our mind is usually either replaying events of the past, and a lot of times we want a do-over because we're dissatisfied with how that conversation went or that meeting went, or perhaps our mind has jumped ahead to the future because we're planning. Sometimes we're worrying, you know. But when we're worrying about the future, what we're really doing is we're worrying about things that we oftentimes have little or no control over. The only moment that you really have any control over is this one, right here and right now. And so mindfulness is kind of coming home to the now, if you want to think of it like that. It's reconnecting with the breath, for one thing, because our body is always breathing right here and right now. Our mind might be reliving yesterday or planning tomorrow, but our body is alive and breathing right here. So simply by noticing your breath, you come back into the present moment. And then you begin to notice other things. You might notice the sensation of the breeze on your skin, or the sound of the birds in the trees, or you look up and you notice the different shades of green in the trees, that kind of thing. And so all these valuable little details that our mind usually pushes to the background, because it feels like we have so much more important stuff to do. We have to make our shopping list, and we have to worry about whether we're going to get to work on time. But in reality, our life is unfolding right in front of us right now. And if we're not careful, as one famous Thich Nhat Hanh, a very famous Vietnamese Buddhist monk who passed away recently, he said, if you're not careful, you're going to miss your appointment with life. And in some ways, that's what we do when we're being mindless, when we're living our life on autopilot. But if we become more mindful, We're settling into this moment. We're opening up our awareness. And it can be something as simple as just, you know, when you're washing the dishes, you just notice the sensation of moving the sponge across the plate, or the different sensations of the varying water temperatures. You can do that when you take a shower. You can be mindful when you're brushing your teeth or walking the dog, or waiting in line in the supermarket. It's just noticing where your mind is and redirecting it right here and right now, because there's a lot of richness in this moment. And so mindfulness is deceptively simple, really. It's just letting go of where the mind wants to take us and sort of becoming the driver for a while, letting the mind take a back seat. You know.
Another thing is, it seems from the way we encounter mindfulness is that it often goes hand in hand with mention of meditation. Can you just talk a little bit about how mindfulness is different from meditation? What's unique about each?
So mindfulness is becoming aware of what's really unfolding in this moment, being more present, and more aware in the now. Meditation, and when you think about it, meditation is like this giant umbrella. There's lots of kinds of meditation. Meditation, the word meditation is almost like sports. We have team sports, we have like, you have sports with a ball, you have many, many different kinds of sports. And meditation is like that. I remember growing up, in the 70s, the Beatles, and they all were doing this transcendental meditation, TM. And those of you that are old enough to remember that may be familiar with it, may have even practiced it. TM is more of a concentration meditation. Mindfulness is a different kind of meditation. Mindfulness goes hand in hand with this idea of opening up your awareness to what's unfolding right now. So when you sit in quiet meditation, mindfulness meditation, you're not closing your mind to events. In fact, you are actually opening up your mind, and you're noticing every little thing that shows up. Maybe there's a sound in the background. Maybe there's a little itch, on your leg. Or maybe you're noticing your breath, or maybe a thought comes to you. But it's noticing these things in a way that you don't get too connected, or too latched onto them. You sort of notice them, you acknowledge them, and then you let them go. So it's this constant stream of thoughts and feelings and emotions that sort of unfold in front of you. And when you begin to notice your thoughts, you learn a lot of things about yourself. Because most of us, when we really notice the mind and begin to see how busy it is, you start to see where the mind goes. Some of us, we tend to go more to thoughts of the past. Other people more to the future. Other people just travel off to fantasy and imagination. But until you notice things like your mind and what it does, we don't have the opportunity to really change anything. So the first step is noticing and acknowledging. And then once these thoughts and these feelings and sensations pass in front of it, you can let them go. It's almost like you treat it in a way like an out-of-body experience, like you're a third-person observer. You're kind of hovering above your body and noticing all the things that you're thinking and feeling and remembering, and not becoming, caught in this human tendency to label everything. We like to decide, is something good for us? Is it bad for us? Is it a threat? Is it an opportunity? You know, we treat things more as neutral experiences. We don't label them, because when things are neutral, we don't get too hung up on them. Because in reality, what human beings tend to do is we try to hold on to all the pleasant things. In Buddhism, which is really the forerunner of modern secular mindfulness, they call that clinging. And you don't want to cling on to the good things in the same way that you don't want to have aversion to the negative things. You don't want to push them away. For instance, pain, right? So when we work with pain mindfully, in essence, what we're doing is we're noticing our pain. We're acknowledging that the pain is there. The pain doesn't define us. It's not who we are, but it is definitely a part of what we're experiencing. But we learn to work with the pain in a very mindful way. So we notice that it's there, we acknowledge its presence, and then you begin to treat it in this very mindful way. For instance, you notice, what is the quality of your pain? Is it sharp? Is it dull? Is it throbbing? Because pain changes. Pain changes moment by moment. It changes in quality, it changes in intensity, it changes in location. And so the pain actually becomes the object of our meditation. So, we have meditation, mindful meditation, where we sit there and we focus on the breath to bring us into the now. This idea of this more spacious awareness that I described, where you notice all the thoughts and feelings that come into your awareness. That's also a form of mindfulness meditation. But if you focus on your pain, you can work with your pain very mindfully. In essence, your pain becomes the object of your meditation. And there are many ways that we work with the pain. We acknowledge that it's there, and then we cultivate the ability to be present with the pain. And it becomes quite fascinating. So, this is one of the things that we're going to explore in the workshop, because we do talk a lot about the science and how the research validates the effectiveness of mindfulness and meditation and mindful movement. But you also get the opportunity to experience all these things for yourself. There's a couple different meditations that I'll lead you in. One's a body scan where we become more connected with our body just by sort of scanning through it and noticing all the sensations that are present. And then we do a meditation where we let the pain that we're experiencing become the object of the meditation, and we work with that in a way where we focus on it, and then we sort of back away, and then we come back to the pain and we move away. So we learn to work with it in a way that's not too overwhelming or too overpowering. And then we do the same thing with mindful movement, because I lead a session of Tai Chi and Qigong, because, mindfulness is really, it can manifest itself in our lives in so many different ways. And our mind and our body is so intimately connected. And I'm sure you've noticed how, just sometimes the thoughts that we're thinking or the emotions that we're feeling can have these associated visceral responses in our body. And that's because of this deep connection. And Eastern spiritual traditions have known for thousands of years that the mind and the body is intimately connected. So why not learn how to work with that for our benefit? And so that's really what we show you how to do. And this has just been a passion of mine for so many years. And that's why I love to share it. Share teachings that I've experienced, share things that I've learned, in my clinical path. And then we take every individual situation that participants experience, and we use them in a way that we can benefit everyone. Because there's a universality to all of this. Just as I mentioned in the very beginning with my struggles personally with burnout, it's not just me. So everything you experience as a clinician and everything that your patients experience, even though each and every one of those patients and clients is a unique individual, there's certain commonalities there. And when we touch into those, we find ways to work with that. And that's the fascinating part of all of this. That's what keeps me coming back over and over and over. It's why it's become sort of a way of life with me, and I never tire of it. So,
Thank you for
a
sharing.
long-winded answer to that one, right?
Great information, though. We could, I'm sure, continue this on for hours, most likely. It's a fascinating topic that just the application is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it has many.
So thank you very much for your time and for giving us a little bit of an insight into what your session will be. For anyone that is interested that has not yet been to the webpage, you can find more information of PESI, of the Pain Summit at pesi.com/Pain Summit. It's going to be a 2-day event. We're going to have multiple speakers and some pretty big names within the field too. Laura Mosley, Adrian Lowe are two speakers that will be presenting. Of course, Clyde's going to be there, and you can have an opportunity to get a lot more information on his session. And one of the themes that you'll find in this event is a big shift to pain, and especially chronic pain, is really shifting to more of the conscious awareness of pain and more of a cognitive approach to it. And that's going to be a theme that you'll see played out and working towards better outcomes from what we have seen in previous pain management models. So it's going to be a fantastic event. I really hope you can all join us. Again, March 3rd and 4th, it's a Thursday and Friday, 2 weeks, just about 2.5 weeks from now. So Clyde, thank you very much again for your time, and thank you all for attending.
My pleasure. Look forward to seeing you on the 4th.